What's up, my fellow Task Forcers? It is Mike with Duel Links Task Force, bringing you an incredible Duel Links build. This deck, I went on a 4-tear streak in Legendary. It is an absolute unit against Blue Eyes, as you've seen in the previous clips. The deck build is relatively simple. It is a little bit on the more expensive side, but not as much as Blue Eyes or any of the other top tier for that matter. It can absolutely hang with about anything going on right now with the meta. It's super fun. It's not that crazy of a big brain deck to really play, but I'm telling you, if you like watching the Blue Eyes players rage, you're gonna love this. So let's jump right into the deck build. We just have one Sphere Karibo, of course, because you got to have a little bit of defense every now and then in case you run into a horrendous draw. But I only use one, and we all know what Sphere Karibo does, so I'm not going to waste too much time on him. Up next, we run 3 yellow Martins. Martin is a decent card in this. It's not the best, I would say, not by far. But if you control a Lunalight monster, you can return it to your hand and then place this one in defense. But if it gets destroyed or anything like that, it gets banished. The cool thing about this card is you can add one Lunalight spell or trap from your deck to your hand using this card if it is sent to the graveyard using a card effect. Now, that would be your Rikage breaks if they use it, your fusion card with this deck. Anything that sends this card to the graveyard using a card effect besides being destroyed by battle, it's going to bring you your fusion card. So, I would highly recommend running 3 of these just for the simple fact of you really, really need to have that card. And other than that, it's pretty good for a stall, as you've seen also in the previous clips. I used it to stall out of Blue Eyes until the very end, until he decked out. It's crazy. So, 3 in for the Martin. I've never really used this card before, but I saw it on a site build, and I thought I'd give it a shot. And actually, it is a pretty useful card. You can send this card from your hand field to the graveyard, then target one Lunalight monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon one Lunalight monster from your hand. Again, if you've got out your fusion, she is 3,600. You discard this card, she now becomes 4,600, and then you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon one Lunalight monster from your hand, which means, again, you can use this to stall until the end of time. Plus, it's also good to have, that extra 1,000 to swing over if you got one of your other monsters and they got just a little bit more than what you got. You can use this, boost up, and you're fine. So, I only run one of these because it's not all it's cracked up to be, but it is a fun little change on the build. And now it brings us to Crimson Fox, the main one of this deck. And what she does is you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to 0 attack until the end of this turn. Now that is if she is sent to the graveyard by a card effect. So your fusions, your Rikage breaks, your Ballistica squad, anything, alternate Blue Eyes, anything that sends it to the graveyard via effect, that effect activates. Now the secondary effect that makes this card such a dangerous, unique thing to play is when this if a card effect targets a Lunalight monster, be it your fusion or any other Lunalight monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate that effect. That works amazing with Karma Cut. It works amazing with anything that they want to play that targets one of your Lunalight monsters. You can banish this from your graveyard, just negate everything. It's insane. I see why it's limited. So, if you guys also love watching people try to bust out that Karma Cut that is absolutely ruining this game, in my opinion, you are going to love negating it whenever they try to pop that thing. So, unfortunately, you can only run 2 Lunalights, Crimson Fox right now. Hopefully they unban it, but I don't see that happening. So, now we reach Emerald Bird. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Lunalight card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, you get to draw 1 card. The cool thing about that is that counts as an effect. So if you want to send Fox to your graveyard, Fox effects activates. Turns one of your opponent's monsters to 0 attack. So that is a great combo to set up if you have Fox in your hand and you have this nice little birdie that you would like to play with. And you can target one of your level 4 or lower Lunalight monsters that is banished or in your graveyard except Lunalight, special summon it in defense, but its effects are negated. Now the cool thing about that is you can use it for Fox. You can use Fox twice actually, because if you've used Fox in the past to negate a Karma Cut, let's say, you can use this card to bring back your banished Fox, put it back on the field. It's not banished again whenever it goes, so it goes back to the graveyard, which gives you another negate effect. So, I run 3 of these just because I really, really love being able to get my Fox back so I can keep negating. That's at least 4 negates that you'll have if you get all or both of your Foxes out. It's great. So 3 in all the way. Lunalight Rabbit. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one Lunalight monster in your graveyard except Lunalight Rabbit. Oh, that's a tongue twister. And special summon it in defense. Once per turn, you can target spell, trap cards your opponent controls up to the number of Lunalights you control and return those to the hand. This thing is like Hey Trunod on crack. What this thing does is if you have 2 other Lunalight monsters out and you bring this card out, you can now send all 3 spell and trap cards that your opponents control right back to their hand. They can't activate them. They can't negate it. It just goes straight back to the hand. That is a great setup for an OTK if you're worried about Drowning Mirror Force or Wall of Disruption or anything like that. You can just go ahead and kiss those goodbye. They go back to the hand. You attack in, and it's pretty much game over. So I run 3 of those just because it's a really nice effect to have to be able to send everything back. Now we'll get to the Lunalight Fusion. Fusion summon 1 Lunalight monster from your extra deck using materials from your hand or field as fusion material. Now, that's pretty much the same as everything else, except if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. This is where it gets good. You can also use 1 Lunalight monster in your deck or extra deck as fusion material. So, if they bring out their tuner, if they bring out their fusion, if they bring out anything from their extra deck, they're special summoned that way. Which, everything's counted as a special summon. Now, what you can do is you can effectively use 1 card from your entire deck, which is a great searcher for you to put Fox in the graveyard, for you to set up an amazing OTK with this. So it's great that they want to special summon a monster because you also get to use whatever card it was you wanted to pick. So 3 of these all the way has to happen. And then we'll get to a couple of our little things that we just add just to make things a little bit more difficult for everybody. I like to run Drowning Mirror Force. I don't run too many of them just because the whole idea is to not let them flood the field to where you get that overwhelmed. But if you do and they swing in for a lethal, at least you can send everything back. So that's my preference. Then you got Floodgate. You see I have 3, but I don't run 3 because it really makes the deck lag a little bit. And nowadays, it's not too good to have a Floodgated monster on the field because they can still use it as a tribute. They can still use a bunch of different things with it. So I'm really thinking Floodgates kind of fell off from where it used to be. So, but it's still fun to stop combos with Blue Eyes and things like that. So it's still relevant, but not what it used to be. Then we got, of course, the main card that every player I see runs across. It's Karma Cut. Unfortunately, I only have 1, and I don't have the means to go for a second or third. Not that I really would, because every time I go for a card like this, it inevitably gets banned. So I wouldn't waste my time on it because it's probably going to get hit soon, just like everything else. So if you have 3, by all means, run 3. Really make your opponent mad. If you don't worry about it too much. It's just a good little combo breaker. And then we get to the fusion. Lunalight Dancer. Now, Dancer, 3 Lunalight monsters, must be fusion summoned. It gains 200 attack for each beast warrior type monster that is banished or in graveyards. Now, if they run also beast warrior types, she gains attack 200 for the monsters in their graveyard. And the cool thing about this is your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. During your main phase, except to turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this and then target one fusion monster you control. It gains a whopping 3,000 attack. So if you run 2 of these, one of them gets destroyed, put in the graveyard. Your next turn, you can banish this. You can make this card then become well over the 4,000 mark. Because normally if it requires 3 and you get 200, that puts it at 3,800 already. If you got another monster that gets destroyed, that puts it at 4. And then you use your fusion, you banish her, bring it back. Now you're setting it at 5,000 attack that cannot be targeted by card effects. This thing is insane. The OTKs with this deck is real. So, I unfortunately only have 2. I would recommend playing 3, but if you don't have 3, 2 will suffice. And then, of course, we go with the regular card that everybody runs with this deck because it is the easiest to get. You got Cat Dancer, 2 Lunalight monsters, can't be destroyed by battle. Once per turn, you contribute 1 other Lunalight monster for the rest of the turn. The first time each monster your opponent control would be destroyed by battle is not. Also, this card can attack all your opponent's monsters twice. If it attacks, you inflict 100 damage immediately before any kind of damage calculation is put into place. The cool thing about that is like I said, if you bring out a monster, you use Fox. You bring this out, you use Fox, turn their attack to 0. If you got another Luna monster you control, you contribute it. Now, instead of it being destroyed the first time, you swing in with 2,400. It's not destroyed. You swing in again, boom, game over. So, this card, while it's not quite the big beater that it needs to be, it can still definitely hang with anything meta can bring out as long as you have Fox with her amazing effect. So, that's the deck build. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. You guys, please like, subscribe, comment. We will do any reasonable deck we can for a restart. Excuse me. So, with that being said, you guys have a great day. We love you. Stay playing.